gentlemen, students and scholars, teachers and trainers, professionals, professors and professionals, listeners and learners. The Most Honorable President Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, respected doctors and ministers, Honorable advocates, advertisers, administrators and advisors, Reverend fathers and mothers, affectionate sons and daughters. I, Dr.RKM from USA, heartily, cordially welcome all of you. It is really nice time, nice place, nice section you are listening. How to use your subconscious mind for forgiveness. Life plays no favorites. God is life, and this life principle is flowing through you this moment. God loves to express Himself as harmony, peace, beauty, joy, and abundance through you. This is called the will of God or the tendency of life. If you set up resistance in your mind to the flow of life through you, this emotional congestion will get snared up in your subconscious mind and cause all kinds of negative conditions. God has nothing to do with unhappy or chaotic condition in the world. Man's negative and destructive thinking brings about all these conditions. Therefore, it is silly to blame God for your trouble or sickness. Many persons habitually set up mental resistance to the flow of life by accusing and reproaching God for the sin, sickness, and suffering of mankind. Others cast the blame on God for their pains, acts, and loss of loved ones, personal tragedies, and accidents. They are angry at God and they believe He is responsible for their misery. As long as people entertain such negative concepts about God, they will experience the automatic negative reactions from their subconscious mind. Actually, such people do not know what they are that they are punishing themselves. They must see the truth, find release, and give up all condemnation, resentment, and anger against anyone or any power outside themselves. Otherwise, they cannot go forward into a healthy, happy, or creative activity. The minute these people entertain a God of love in their minds and hearts, and when they believe that God is their loving Father who watches over them, cares for them, guides them, sustains and strengthens them. This concept and belief about God or the life principle will be accepted by their subconscious mind, and they will find themselves blessed in countless ways. Live always, life always, life always forgives you. Life forgives you when you cut your finger. The subconscious intelligence within you sets about immediately to repair it. New cells build bridges over the cut. Should you take some tainted food by error, life forgives you and causes you to regurgitate it in order to preserve you. If you burn your hand, the life principle reduces the edema and congestion and gives you new skin, tissue and cells. Life holds no grudges against you, and it is always forgiving you. Life brings you back to health, vitality, harmony and peace. If you cooperate by thinking in harmony with nature, negative, hurtful memories, bitterness, and it will clutter up and impede the free flow of the life principle in you. How he banished that feeling of guilt. I knew a man who worked every night until about 1 o'clock in the morning. He paid no attention to his 2 boys or his wife. He was always too busy working hard. He thought people should pat him on the back because he was working so arduously and persistently past midnight every night. He had a blood pressure of over 200 and was full of guilt. Unconsciously, he proceeded to punish himself by hard work, and he completely ignored his children. A normal man does not do that. He is interested in his boys and in their development. He does not shut his wife out of his world. I explained him why he was working or why he is working so arduously. There is something eating you inside, otherwise you would not act this way. You are punishing yourself and you have to learn to forgive yourself. He did have a deep sense of guilt. It was toward a brother. I explained him that God was not punishing him, but that he was punishing himself. For example, if you misuse the laws of life, you will suffer accordingly. If you put your hand on a naked charged wire, you will get burned. The forces of nature are not evil. It is your use of them that determines whether they have a good or evil effect. Electricity is not evil. It depends on how you use it, whether to burn down a structure or light up the home. The only sin is ignorance of the law, and the only punishment is the automatic reaction of man's misuse of the law. If you misuse the principle of chemistry, you may blow up the office or the factory. If you strike your hand on a board, you may cause your hand to bleed. The board is not for that purpose. Its purpose may be to lean upon or to support your feet. This man realized that God does not condemn or punish anyone, and that all his suffering was due to the reaction of his subconscious mind to his own negative and destructive thinking. He had cheated his brother at one time, and the other had now passed on. Still he was full of remorse and guilt. I asked him, would you cheat your brother now? He said, no. Did you feel you were justified at the time? His reply was, yes. But you would not do it now. He added, no, I am helping others to know how to live. I added the following comment, you have a greater reason and understanding now. Forgiveness is to forgive yourself. Forgiveness is getting your thoughts in line with the divine law of harmony. Self-condemnation is called hell. Forgiveness is called heaven. The burden of guilt and self-condemnation was lifted from his mind, and he had a complete healing. The doctor tested his blood pressure and it had become normal. The explanation was the cure. A murderer learned to forgive himself. A man who murdered his brother in Europe visited me many years ago. He was suffering from great mental anguish and torture, believing that God must punish him. He explained that his brother had been having an affair with his wife and that he had shot him on the spur of the moment. This had happened about 15 years ago to his interview with me. In the meantime, this man had married an American girl and had been blessed with these 3 lovely children. He was in a position where he helped many people and he was a transformed man. My explanation to him was that physically and psychologically he was not the same man who shot his brother, since scientists inform us that every cell of our bodies changes every 11 months. Moreover, mentally and spiritually, he was a new man. He was now full of love and goodwill for humanity. The old man who committed the crime 15 years before, he was mentally and spiritually dead. Actually, he was condemning an innocent man. This explanation had a profound effect upon him. and he said it. He said it was as if a great weight had been lifted from his mind. He realized the significance of the following truth in the Bible. Come now, let's reason together, saith the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be white as snow, though they by red like crimson, they shall be as wool. Isa from 1 to 18. Crimson, criticism cannot hurt you without your consent. A school teacher told me that one of her associates criticized a person, criticized a speech she had given, saying to her that she spoke too fast. She swallowed some of her words and she couldn't be heard. Her diction was pure, her diction was poor, and her speech ineffective. This teacher was furious and full of resentment toward her critic. She admitted to me that the criticisms were just. Her first reaction was really childish. Not she agreed that the latter was really a blessing and a marvelous corrective. She proceeded immediately to supplement her deficiencies in her speech by enrolling in a course in public speaking at City College. She wrote and thanked the writer of the note for her interest, expressing appreciation for her conclusions and findings, which enabled the teacher to correct the matter at once. How to be compassionate. Suppose none of the things mentioned in the letter had been true of the teacher. The latter would have realized that her class material had upset the prejudices, superstitions, or narrow sectarian beliefs of the writer of the note, and that a psychologically ill person was simply pouring forth her resentment because a psychological boil had been hurt. To understand this fact is to be compassionate. The next logical step would be to pay for the other person's peace, harmony, and understanding. You cannot be hurt when you know that you are master of your thoughts, reactions, and emotions. Emotions follow thoughts, and you have the power to reject all thoughts which may disturb or upset you. Life at the altar. Some years ago, I visited a church to perform a marriage ceremony. The young man did not appear, and at the end of 2 hours, the bride to be shed a few tears and then said to me, I prayed for divine guidance. This might be the answer, for he never faileth. That was her reaction. That was her reaction, faith in God and all things good. She had no bitterness in her heart because, as she said, it must not have been right action, because my prayer was for right action for both of us. Someone else having a similar experience would have gone into a tantrum, have said an emotional fit, required sedation, and perhaps needed hospitalization. Tune in with the infinite intelligence within your subconscious depth trusting the answer in the same way that you trusted your mother when she held you in her arms. This is how you can acquire poise and mental and emotional health. It is wrong to marry, sex is evil and I am evil. Some time ago, I talked to a young lady aged 22. She was taught that it was a sin to dance, to play cards, to swim, and to go out with men. She was threatened by her mother, who told her she would burn eternally in hot fire if she disobeyed her will and her religious teachings. The girl wore a black dress and black stockings. She wore no rug, lipstick or any form of makeup because her mother said that these things were sinful. Her mother told her that all men were evil and that sex was of the evil and simply diabolic debauchery. The girl had to learn how to forgive herself as she was full of guilt. To forgive means to give her. She had to give up all these false beliefs for the truths of life and a new estimate of herself. When she went out with young men in the office where she worked, she had a deep sense of guilt and thought that God would punish her. Several eligible young men proposed to her what she said to me: "It is wrong to marry, sex is evil, and I am evil." This was her conscience or early conditioning speaking. She came to me once weekly for about 10 weeks, and I taught her the working of the conscious and subconscious mind as set forth in this book. This young girl gradually came to see that she had been completely brainwashed, mesmerized, and conditioned by an ignorant, superstitious, bigoted, and frustrated mother. She broke away completely from her family and started to live a wonderful life. At my suggestion, she dressed up and had her hair attended to. She took lessons in dancing from a man, and she also took driving lessons. She learned to swim, play cards, and had a number of dares and had a number of dates. She began to love. She began to love he. She prayed for a divine companion by claiming that infinite spirit would attract to her a man who harmonized with her thoroughly. Eventually, this came to pass as she left my office one evening. There was a man waiting to see me, and I casually introduced them. They are now married and harmonize with each other perfectly. Forgiveness is necessary for healing. And when ye stand praying, forgive if ye have aught against any. To the Holy Bible in lesson Mark 11 to 25. Forgiveness of others. Forgiveness of others is essential to mental peace and radiant health. You must forgive everyone who has ever hurt you if you want perfect health and happiness. Forgive yourself by getting your thoughts in harmony with divine law and order. You cannot really forgive yourself completely until you have forgiven others for first. To refuse to forgive yourself is nothing more or less than spiritual pride or ignorance. In the psychosomatic field of medicine today, it is being constantly stressed that resentment, condemnation of others, remorse and hostility are behind a host of maladies ranging from arthritis to cardiac disease. They point out that these sick people who were hurt, mistreated, deceived or injured were full of resentment and hatred for those who hurt them. This caused inflamed and festering wounds in their subconscious mind. There is only one remedy. They have to cut out and discard their hearts, and the one and the only sure way is by forgiveness. Forgiveness is love in action. The essential ingredient in the art of forgiveness is the willingness to forgive. If you sincerely desire to forgive the other, you are 51% over the hurdle. I feel sure you know that to forgive the other does not necessarily mean that you like him or want to associate with them. You cannot be compelled to like someone. Neither can a government legislate goodwill, love, peace or tolerance. It is quite impossible to like people because someone in Washington issues an edict to that effect. We can, however, love people without liking them. The Bible says, love ye one another. This anyone can do who really wants to do it. Love means that you wish for the other health, happiness, peace, joy, and all the blessings of life. There is only one prerequisite, and that is sincerity. You are not being magnanimous when you forgive. You are really being selfish, because what you wish for the other, you are actually wishing for yourself. The reason is that you are thinking it and you are feeling it. As you think and feel, so are you. Could anything be simple? Could anything be simpler than that technique of forgiveness? The following is a simple method which works wonders in your life as you practice it. Quiet your mind, relax and let go. Think of God and His love for you, and then affirm, I fully and freely forgive. I realize I release him mentally and spiritually. I completely forgive everything connected with the matter in question. I am free and he or she is free. It is a marvelous feeling. It is my day of general amnesty. General amnesty. I release anybody or everybody who has ever hurt me, and I wish for each and everyone health, happiness, peace, and all the blessings of life. I do this freely, joyously and lovingly, and whenever I think of the person or persons who hurt me, I say, I have released you, and all the blessings of life are yours. I am free and you are free. It is wonderful. The great secret of true forgiveness is that once you have forgiven the person, it is unnecessary to repeat the prayer. Whenever the person comes to you Whenever the person comes to your mind or the particular hurt happens to enter your mind, wish the delinquent well and say, peace be to you. Do this as often as the ought enters your mind. You will find that after a few days, the thought of a person, the thought of the person or experience will return less and less often until it fades into nothingness. The acid test for forgiveness. There is an acid test for gold. There is also an acid test for forgiveness. If I should tell you something wonderful about someone who has wronged you, cheated you, or defrauded you, and you sizzled at hearing the good news about this person, the roots of hatred would still be in your subconscious mind playing havoc with you. Let us suppose you had a painful abscess. You had a painful abscess on your jaw a year ago, and you told me about it. I would casually ask you if you had any pain now. You would automatically say, of course not. I have a memory but no pain. That is the whole story. You may have a memory of the incident but no sting or hurt anymore. This is the acid test, and you must meet it psychologically and spiritually. Otherwise, you are simply deceiving yourself and not practicing the true art of forgiveness. To understand all is to forgive all. When man understands the creative law of his own mind, he ceases to blame other people and conditions for making or marrying his life. He knows that his own thoughts and feelings create his destiny. Furthermore, he is aware that externals are not the causes and conditions of his life and his experiences. To think that others can mar your happiness, that you are the football of a cruel fate, that you must oppose and fight others for living, all these and others like them are untenable when you understand that thoughts are things. The Bible says the same thing, for as a man thinketh in his heart, so Pro from the Holy Bible 23:7. Summary of your aids to forgiveness. God or life is no respecter of persons. Life plays no favorites. Life for God seems to favor you when you align yourself with the principle of harmony, health, joy and peace. God or life never send disease, sickness, accident or suffering. We bring these things on ourselves by our own negative, destructive thinking based upon the law, as we sow, so shall we reap. Your concept of God is the most important thing in your life. Your subconscious mind will respond in countless blessings to you. Believe in a God of love. Life or God holds no grudge against you. Life never condemns you. Life heals a spear cut on your hand. Life forgives you if you burn your finger. It reduces the edema and restores the part to wholeness and perfection. Your guilt complex is a false concept of God and life. God or life does not punish or judge you. You do this to yourself by your false belief, negative thinking and self-condemnation. God or life does not condemn or punish you. The forces of nature are not evil. The effect of their use depends on how you use the power within you. You can use electricity to kill someone or to light the house. You can use water to drown a child or quench his thirst. Good and evil come right back to the thought and purpose in man's own mind. God or life never punishes. Man punishes himself by his false concept of God, life, and the universe. His thoughts are creative and he creates his own misery. If another criticizes you and these faults are within you, rejoice, give hands, give thanks, and appreciate the comments. This gives you the opportunity to correct the particular fault. You cannot be hurt by criticism when you know that you are master of your thoughts, reactions, and emotions. This gives you the opportunity to pray and bless the other, thereby blessing yourself. When you pray for guidance and right action, take what comes, take what comes. Realize it is good and very good. Then there is no cause for self-pity, criticism, or hatred. There is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. There is no evil in sex. The desire for food, wealth, or true expression. It depends on how you use these urges, desires, or aspirations. Your desire for food can be met without killing someone for a loaf of bread. Resentment, hatred, ill will, and hostility are behind a host of maladies. Forgive yourself and everybody else by pouring out love, life, joy, and goodwill to all those who have hurt you. Continue until such time as you meet them in your mind and you are at peace with them. To forgive is to give something for. Give love, peace, joy, wisdom, and all the blessings of life to the other until there is no sting left in your mind. This is really the acid test of forgiveness. Let us suppose you had an let us suppose you had an abscess in your jaw about a year ago. It was very painful. Ask yourself if it is painful now. The answer is in the negative. Likewise, if someone has hurt you, lied about and verified you, and vilified you, and said all manner of evil about you, this is your thought of that person negative. Do you sizzle when he or she comes into your mind? If so, the roots of hatred are still there, playing havoc with you and your good. The only way is to wither them with love by wishing for the until you can meet the person in your mind and you can sincerely react with a benediction of peace and goodwill. This is the meaning of forgive until 70 times 7. Subconscious removes mental blocks. Solution lies within the problem. The answer is in every question. If you are presented with a difficult situation and you cannot see your way clear, the best procedure is to assume that infinite intelligence within your subconscious mind knows all and sees all, has the answer, and is revealing it to you now. Your new mental attitude that the creative intelligence is bringing about a happy solution will enable you to find the answer. Rest assured that such an attitude of mind would bring order, peace, and meaning to all your undertakings. how to break or build a habit. You are a creature of habit. You are a creature of habit. Habit is the function of your subconscious mind. You learn to swim, ride a bicycle, dance, and drive a car by consciously doing these things over and over again until they established tracks in your subconscious mind. Then the automatic habit action of your subconscious mind took over. That is sometimes called second nature, which is a reaction of your subconscious mind to your thinking and action. To your thinking and acting, you are free to choose a good habit or a bad habit. If you repeat a negative thought or act over a period of time, you will be understand the compulsion of a habit. The law of your subconscious is compulsion. How he broke a bad habit. Mr. John said to me, an uncontrollable urge to drink seized me, and I remained drunk for 2 weeks at a time. I can't give up this terrible habit. Time and time again, these experiences had occurred to this unfortunate man. He had grown into the habit of drinking to excess, although he had started drinking of his own initiative. He also began to realize that he could change the habit and establish a new one. He said that while through his willpower he was able to suppress his desires temporarily, he continued efforts to suppress the many urges only made matters worse. His repeated failures convinced him that he was hopeless and powerless to control his urge or obsession. This idea of being powerless operated as a powerful suggestion to his subconscious mind and aggravated his weakness, making his life a succession of failure. I told him to harmonize the function of the conscious and subconscious mind. When these two cooperate, the idea or desire implanted in the subconscious mind is realized. His reasoning mind agreed that if the old habit path or track that carried him into trouble, he could consciously form a new path to freedom, sobriety, and peace of mind. He knew that his destructive habit was automatic, but since it was required, though, but since it was required through his conscious choice, he realized that if he had been conditioned negatively, he also could be conditioned positively. As a result, he ceased thinking of the fact that he was powerless to overcome the habit. Moreover, he understood clearly that there was no obstacle to his healing other than his own thought. Therefore, there was no occasion for great mental effort or mental coercion. The power of his mental picture. This man acquired a practice of relaxing his body and getting into a relaxed, drowsy, meditative state. Then he filled his mind with the picture of the desired end, knowing his subconscious mind could bring it about the easiest way. He imagined his daughter congratulating him on his freedom and saying to him, "Daddy, it's wonderful to have you home." He had lost his family through drink. He has not allowed to visit them, and his wife would not regularly, systematically. He used to sit down and meditate in the way outlined. When his attention wandered, he made it a habit to immediately recall the mental picture of his daughter, wish her smile, and the scene of his home, enlivened by her cheerful voice. All this brought about a reconditioning of his mind. It was a gradual process. He kept it up. He preserved, knowing that sooner or later he would establish a new habit pattern in his subconscious mind. I told him that he could liken his conscious mind to a camera, that his subconscious mind to plate on which he registered and impressed the picture. This made a profound impression on him, and his whole aim was to firmly impress the picture on his mind and develop it there. Films are developed in the dark. Likewise, mental pictures are developed in the dark room of the subconscious mind. Focused attention, realizing that his conscious mind was deeply a camera. His conscious mind was simply a camera. He used no effort. There was no mental struggle. He quietly adjusted his thoughts and focused his attention on the scene before him until he gradually became identified with the picture. He became absorbed in the mental atmosphere, repeating the mental movie frequently. There was no room for doubt that healing would follow. When there was any temptation to drink, he would switch his imagination from any reveries of drinking bouts to the feeling of being at home with his family. He was successful because he confidently expected to experience the picture he was developing in his mind. Today, he is president of a multi-million dollar concern and is radiantly happy. He said a jinx was following him. Mr. Bloke said that he had been making an annual income of $20,000. But for the past 3 months, all doors seemed to jam tightly. He brought clients up to the point where they were about to sign on the dotted line, and then at the 11th hour, the door closed. He added that perhaps a jinx was following him. In discussing the matter with Mr. Bloke, I discovered that 3 months previously he had become very irritated, annoyed, and resentful toward a dentist who, after he had promised to sign a contract, had withdrawn at the last moment. He began to live in the unconscious fear that other clients would do the same, thereby setting up a history of frustration, hostility, and obstacles. He gradually built up in his mind a belief in obstruction and last minute cancellation until a vicious circle had been established. What I fear most has come upon me. Mr. Blow realized that the trouble was in his mind and that it was essential to change his mental attitude. His run of so-called misfortune was broken in the following way. I realize I am one with the infinite intelligence of my subconscious mind, which knows no obstacle, difficulty, or delay. I live in the joyous expectancy of the best. My deeper mind responds to my thoughts. I know that the work of the infinite power of my subconscious cannot be hindered. Infinite intelligence always finishes successfully whatever is begin. Whatever it begins, creative wisdom works through me, bringing all my plans and purpose to completion. Whatever I start, I bring to a successful conclusion. My aim in life is to give wonderful service, and all those whom I contact are blessed by what I have to offer. All my work comes to full fruition in divine order. He repeated this prayer every morning before going to call on his customers, and he also prayed each night prior to sleep. In a short time, he had established a new habit pattern in his subconscious mind, and he was back in his old accustomed stride as a successful salesman. How much do you want that? How much do you want what you want? A young man asked Socrates, how could get wisdom? Socrates replied, come with me. I took the lad to a river, pushed the boy's head under the water, held it there until the boy was gasping for air, then relaxed and released his head. When the boy regained his composure, he asked him, what did you desire most when you were underwater? I wanted air, said the boy. Socrates said to him, when you want wisdom as much as you wanted air, when you are immersed in the water, you will receive it. Likewise, when you really have an intense desire to overcome any block in your life and you come to a clear-cut decision that there is a way out and that is the course you wish to follow, the victory and the triumph are assured. If you are really want peace of mind and inner calm, you will get it, regardless of how unjustly you have been treated, or how unfair the boss has been, or what a man scoundrel someone has proved to be. All this makes no difference to you when you awaken to your mental and spiritual powers, you know what you want, and you will definitely refuse to let the thieves of hatred, anger, hostility, and ill will rob you of peace, harmony, health, and happiness. You cease, you cease to become upset by people, conditions, news, and events by identifying your thoughts immediately with your aim in life. Your aim is peace, health, inspiration, harmony, and abundance. Feel a river of peace. Feel a river of peace flowing through you now. Your thought is the immaterial and invisible power, and you choose to let it bless, inspire, and give you peace. Why he could not be healed? This is a case history. This is a case history of a married man with 4 children who was supporting and secretly living with another woman during his business trips. He was ill, nervous, irritable, and cantankerous, and he could not sleep without drugs. The doctor's medicine failed to bring down his high blood pressure of over 200. He had pains in numerous organs of his body, which doctors could not diagnose or relieve. To make matters worse, he was drinking heavily. The cause of all this was a deep unconscious sense of guilt. He was brought up on, was deeply lodged in his subconscious mind, and he drank excessively to heal the wound of guilt. Some invalids take morphine and codeine for severe pain. He was taking alcohol for the pain or wood in his mind. It was the old story of adding fuel to the fire. The explanation and the cure. He listened to the explanation of how his mind worked. He faced his problem, looked at it, and gave up his dual role. He knew that his drinking was an unconscious attempt to escape the hidden cause lodged in his unconscious mind had to be eradicated. Then the healing would follow. He began to impress his subconscious mind 3 or 4 times a day by using the following prayer. My mind is full of peace, poise, balance, and equilibrium. The infinite lies, stressed in smiling, repose within me. I am not afraid of anything in the past, the present, or the future. The infinite intelligence of my subconscious mind leads, guides, and directs me in all ways. I know, meet my situation with faith, poise, calmness, and confidence. I am now completely free from the habit. My mind is full of inner peace, freedom, and joy. I forgive myself. Then I am forgiven. Peace, sobriety, and confidence reside supreme in my mind. He repeated this prayer frequently as outlined, being fully aware of what he was doing and why he was doing it. Knowing what he was doing gave him the necessary faith and confidence. I explained to him that as he spoke these statements out loud, slowly, lovingly, and meaningfully, they would gradually sink down into his subconscious mind. Like seeds, they would grow after their kind. These truths, on which he concentrated, went in through his eyes, his ears, heard the sound and the healing vibrations of these words, teased his, reached his subconscious mind and obliterated all the negative mental patterns which caused all the trouble. Light dispelled darkness. The constructive thought destroys the negative thought. He became a transformed man within a month, refusing to admit it. If you are an alcoholic or drug addict, admit it. Do not dose the issue. Many people remain alcoholics because they refuse to admit it. Your disease is instability and inner fear. You are refusing to face life, and so you try to escape your responsibilities through the bottle. As an alcoholic, you have no free will, although you think you have, and you may even boast about your willpower. If you are a habitual drunkard and say bravely, I will not touch it anymore. You may no power to make this assertion come true because you do not know where to locate the power. You are living in a psychological prison of your own making, and you are bound by your beliefs, opinions, training, and environmental influences. Like most people, you are a creature of habit. You are conditioned to react the way you do. Building in the idea of freedom. You can build the idea of freedom and peace of mind into your mentality so that it reaches your subconscious depth. The latter, being all powerful, will free you from all desire of alcohol. Then you will have the new understanding of how your mind works, and you can truly back up your statement and prove the truth to yourself. 51% healed. If you have a keen desire to free yourself from any destructive habit, you are 51% healed already. When you have a greater desire to give up the bad habit than to continue it, you will not experience too much difficulty in gaining complete freedom. Whatever thought you anchor the mind upon, the latter magnifies. If you engage the mind on the concept of freedom and peace of mind, and if you keep it focused on this new direction of attention, you generate feelings and emotions which gradually emotionalize the concept of freedom and peace. Whatever idea you emotionalize is accepted by your subconscious and brought to pass. The law of substitution. Realize that something good can come out of your suffering. You have not suffered in vain. However, it is foolish to continue to suffer. If you continue as an alcoholic, it will bring about mental and physical deterioration and decay. Realize that the power in your subconscious is backing you up. Even though you may be seized with melancholia, you should begin to imagine the joy of freedom that is stored for you. This is the law of substitution. Your imagination took you to the bottle. Let it take you now to freedom and peace of mind. You will suffer a little bit, but it is for a constructive purpose. You will bear it like a mother. You will bear it like a mother in the pangs of childbirth, and you will likewise bring forth a child of the mind. Your subconscious will give birth to snobbery. Your subconscious will give birth to sobriety. cause of alcoholism. The real cause of alcoholism is negative and destructive thinking. For as a man thinking, so is he. The alcoholic has a deep sense of inferiority, inadequacy, defeat, and frustration, usually accompanied by a deep inner hostility. He has countless alibis as to his reason for drinking, but the sole reason is in his thought life. Three magic steps. The first step, get still, quiet. The wheels of the mind enter into a sleepy, drowsy state. In his relaxed, painful, receptive state, you are preparing for the second step. The second step, take a belief phrase, which can readily be graven on the memory and repeat it over and over as a lullaby. Use the phrase, sobriety and peace of mind are mine now, and I give thanks. To prevent the mind from wandering, repeat it aloud or sketch its pronunciation with the lips and tongue as you say it mentally. This helps its entry into the subconscious mind. Do this for 5 minutes or more. You will find a deep emotional response. The third step, just before going to sleep, practice what Johann von Goethe, German author, used to do. Imagine a friend, a loved one in front of you. Your eyes are closed. You are relaxed and at peace. The loved one or friend is subjectively present and is saying to you, congratulations. You see the smile, you heard the voice, you mentally touch the hand. It is all real and vivid. The word congratulations imply complete freedom. Hear it over and over again until you get the subconscious reaction which satisfies. Keep on keeping on. When fear knocks at the door of your mind, or when worry and anxiety and doubts cross your mind, behold your vision, your goal. Think of the infinite power within your subconscious mind, which you can generate by your thinking and imagining. And this will give you confidence, power and courage. Keep on, persevere until the day breaks and the shadows flee away. Review your thought power. The solution lies within the problem? The answer is in every question. Infinite intelligence responds to you as you call upon it with faith and confidence. Habit is the function of your conscious mind. There is no greater evidence of the marvelous power of your subconscious than the force and sway habit holds in your life. You are a creature of habit. You form habit patterns in your subconscious mind by repeating a thought and act over and over again until it establishes tracks in the subconscious mind and becomes automatic, such as swimming, dancing, typing, walking, driving your car, etc. You have freedom to choose. You can choose a good habit or a bad habit. Prayer is a good habit. Whatever mental picture backed by faith you behold in your conscious mind and your subconscious mind will bring to pass. The only obstacle to your success and achievement is your own thought or mental image. When your attention wanders, bring it back to the contemplation of your good or bad goal. Make a habit of this. This is called disciplining the mind. Your conscious mind is the camera and your subconscious mind is the sensitive plate on which you register or impress the picture. The only jinx that follows anyone is a fear thought repeated over and over in the mind. Break the jinx by knowing that whatever you start you will bring to a conclusion in divine order. Picture the happy ending and sustain it with confidence. To form a new habit, you must be convinced that it is desirable. When your desire to give up the bad habit is greater than your desire to continue, you are 51% healed already. The statements of others cannot hurt you except through your own thoughts and mental participation. Identify yourself with your aim, which is peace, harmony, and joy. You are the only thinker in your universe. Excessive drinking is an unconscious desire to escape. The cause of alcoholism is negative and destructive thinking. The cure is to think of freedom, sobriety, and perfection, and to feel the thrill of accomplishment. Many people remain alcoholic because they refuse to admit it. The law of your subconscious mind, which held you in bondage and inhibited your freedom of action, will give you freedom and happiness. It depends on how you use it. Your imagination took you to the bottle. Let it take you to freedom by the imagining you are from. You are free. By imagining you are free. The real cause of alcoholism is a negative and destructive thinking. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. When fear knocks at the door of your mind, let faith in God and all things good happen, and all things good open the door. How to use your subconscious mind to remove fear? One of our students told me that he was invited to speak at a banquet. He said he was panic-stricken at the thought of speaking before 1,000 people. He overcame his fear this way. For several nights, he sat down in an armchair for about 5 minutes and said to himself slowly, quietly and positively, I am going to master this fear. I am overcoming it now. I speak with poise and confidence. I am relaxed and at ease. He operated a definite law of mind and overcame his fear. The subconscious mind is amenable. The subconscious mind is amenable to suggestion and is controlled by suggestion. When you still your mind and relax, the thoughts of your conscious mind sink down into the subconscious through a process similar to osmosis, whereby fluids separated by a porous membrane intermingle. As these positive seeds or thoughts sink into the subconscious area, they grow after their kind, and you become poised, serene, and calm. Man's greatest enemy. It is said that fear is man's greatest enemy. Fear is behind failure, sickness, and poor human relations. Millions of people are afraid of the past, the future, old age, insanity, and death. Fear is a thought in your mind, and you are afraid of your own thoughts. A little boy can be paralyzed with the fear when he is told there is a boogeyman under his bed that is going to take him away. When his father turns on the light and shows him there is no boogeyman, he is freed from fear. The fear in the mind of the boy was as real as if there really was a boogeyman there. He was healed of a false thought in his mind. The thing he feared did not exist. Likewise, most of your fears have no reality. They are merely a conglomeration of sinister shadows, and shadows have no reality. Do the thing you fear. Ralph Waldo Emerson, philosopher and poet. Do the thing you are afraid to do, and the death of fear is certain. There was a time when the writer of this chapter was filled with unutterable fear when standing before an audience. The way I overcame it was to stand before the audience, do the thing I was afraid to do, and the death of fear was certain. When you affirm positively that you are going to master your fear, and you come to a definite decision in your conscious mind, you release the power of the subconscious, which flows in response to the nature of your thought. Banishing stage fright. Banishing stage fright. A young lady was invited to an audition. She had been looking forward to the interview. However, on 3 previous occasions, she had failed miserably due to the stage fright. She possessed a very good voice, but she was certain that when the time came for her to sing, she would be seized with stage fright. The subconscious mind takes your fears as a request, proceeds to manifest them, and brings them into your experience. Audition, she sang wrong notes, down and cried, because, as previously outlined, was an involuntary auto-suggestion, that is a silent fear, thought, emotionalized and subjectified. She overcame it by the following technique. 3 times a day, she isolated herself in a room. She sat down comfortably in an armchair, relaxed her body and closed her eyes. She stilled her mind and body to the best of her ability. Physical inertia favors passivity and renders the mind more receptive to suggestion. She counteracted the fear suggestion by its converse, saying to herself, I sing beautifully, I am poised, serene, confident and calm. She repeated the words slowly, quietly, and with feeling from 5 to 10 times at each sitting. She had 3 such sittings every day and one immediately prior to sleep at night. At the end of a week, she was completely poised, and confident, and gave a definitely outstanding audition. Carry out the above procedure, and the death of fear is certain. Fear of failure. Occasionally, young men from the local university come to see me, as well as school teachers who often seem to suffer from suggestive amnesia at examinations. The complaint is always the same. I know the answers after the examination is over, but I can't remember the answer during the examination. The idea which realizes itself is the one to which we invariably give concentrated attention. I find that each one is obsessed with the idea of failure. Fear is behind the temporary amnesia, and it is the cause of the whole experience. One young medical student was the most brilliant person in his class, yet he found himself failing to answer simple question at the time of written or oral examination. I explained to him that the reason was he had been worrying and was fearful for several days previous to the examination. These negative thoughts became changed with fear. Thoughts involved in the powerful emotion of fear are realized in the subconscious mind. In other words, this young man was requesting his subconscious mind to see to it that he failed, and that is exactly what it did. On the day of the examination, he found himself stricken with what is called in psychological circles suggestive amnesia. How he overcame the fear. He learned that his subconscious mind was the storehouse of memory, and that it had a perfect record of all he had heard and read during his medical training. Moreover, he learned that the subconscious mind was responsive and reciprocal. The way to be and rapport with it was to be relaxed, peaceful and confident. Every night and morning he began to imagine his mother congratulating him on his wonderful record. He would hold an imaginary letter from her in his hand. As he began to contemplate the happy result, he called forth a corresponding or reciprocal response or reaction in himself. The all-wise and omnipotent power of the subconscious took over, dictated and directed his conscious mind accordingly. He imagined the end, thereby willing the means to the realization of the end. Following this procedure, he had no trouble passing subsequent examination. In other words, the subjective wisdom took over, compelling him to give an excellent account of himself. Fear of water, mountains, closed places, etc. These are many people who are afraid to go into an elevator, climb mountains, or even swim in the water. It may well be that the individual had unpleasant experience in the water in his youth, such as by being thrown forcibly into the water without being able to swim. He might have been forcibly detained in an elevator which failed to function properly, causing resultant fear of closed places. I had an experience when I was about 10 years of age. I accidentally fell into a pool and went down 3 times. I can still remember the dark water engulfing my head and my gasping for air until another boy pulled me over, pulled me out at the last moment. This experience sank into my subconscious mind, and for years I feared the water. An elderly psychologist said to me, "Go down to the swimming pool, look at the water, and say out loud in strong tones, 'I am going to master you. I can dominate you.' Then go into water, take lessons, and overcome it." This I did, and I mastered the water. Do not permit water to master you. Remember, you are the master of the water. When assumed a new attitude of mind, the omnipotent power of the subconscious responded, giving me strength, faith, and confidence, and enabling me to overcome my fear. Master technique for overcoming any particular fear. The following is a process and technique for overcoming fear, which I teach from the platform. It works like a charm. Try it. Suppose you are afraid of the water, a mountain, an interview, an audition, or you fear closed places. If you are afraid of swimming, begin now to sit still for 5 or 10 minutes, 3 or 4 times a day, and imagine you are swimming. Actually, you are swimming in your mind. It is a subjective experience. Mentally, you have projected yourself into the water. You feel the chill of the water and the movement of your arms and legs. It is all real, vivid, and a joyous activity of the mind. It is not idle daydreaming, for you know that what you are experiencing in your imagination will be dwelled in your subconscious mind. Then you will be compelled to express the image and likeness of the picture you impressed on your deeper mind. This is the law of the subconscious. You could apply the same technique if you are afraid of mountains or high places. Imagine you are climbing the mountain, feel the reality of it all, enjoy the scenery, knowing that as you continue to do this mentally, you will do it physically with ease and comfort. He blessed the elevator. I knew an executive of a large corporation who was terrified to ride in an elevator. He would walk up 5 flights of stairs to his office every morning. He said that he began to bless the elevator every night and several times a day. He finally overcame his fear. This was how he blessed the elevator. The elevator in our building is a wonderful idea. It came out of the universal mind. It is a boon and blessing to all our employees. It gives wonderful service. It operates in divine orders. I ride in it a peace and joy. I remain silent now while the currents of life, love and understanding flow through the patterns of my thought. In my imagination, I am now in the elevator and I step out into my office. The elevator is full of our employees. I talk to them and they are friendly, joyous and free. It is a wonderful experience of freedom, faith and confidence. I give thanks. He continued this prayer for about 10 days, and on the 11th day, he walked into the elevator with our members of the organization and felt completely free. Normal and abnormal fear. Man is born only with 2 fears: the fear of failing, the fear of falling, and the fear of the noise. These are an alarm system gives you by nature as a means of self-preservation. Normal fear is good. You hear an automobile coming down the road, and you step aside to survive. The momentary fear of being run over is overcome by your action. All other fears were given to you by parents, relatives, teachers, and all those who influenced your early years. Abnormal fear. Abnormal fear takes place when man lets his imagination run riot. I knew a woman who was invited to go on a trip around the world by plane. She began to cut out of the newspapers all reports of aeroplane catastrophes. She pictured herself going down in the ocean, being drowned, etc. This is abnormal fear. Had she persisted in this, she would undoubtedly have attracted what she feared more, what she feared most. Another example of abnormal fear is that of a businessman in New York who was very prosperous and successful. He had his own private mental motion picture of which he was the director. He would run these mental movies. He would he would run this mental movie of future, movie of failure, bankruptcy, empty shelves, and no bank balance until he sank into a deep depression. He refused to stop this morbid imagery and kept reminding his wife that this can't last. There will be a recession. I feel sure we will go bankrupt, etc. His wife told me that he finally did go into bankruptcy and all the things he imagined and feared came to pass. The things he feared did not exist, but he brought them to pass by consistently fearing, believing, and expecting financial disaster. Job said, "The thing I feared has come upon me." There are people who are afraid that something terrible will happen to their children and that some dread catastrophe will befall them. When they read about an epidemic or rare disease, they live in fear that they will catch it, and some imagine they have the disease already. All this is abnormal fear. The answer to abnormal fear: move. Move mentally to the opposite. To stay at the extreme of fear, which is stagnation plus mental and physical deterioration. When fear arises, there immediately comes with it a desire for something opposite to the thing feared. Place your attention on the thing immediately desired. Get absorbed and engrossed in your desire, knowing that the subjective always overturns the objective. This attitude will give you confidence and lift your spirits. The infinite power of your subconscious mind is moving on your behalf and it cannot fail. Therefore, peace and assurance are yours. Examine your fears. The president of a large organization told me that when he was a salesman, he used to walk around the block 5 or 6 times before he called on customer. The sales manager came along one day and said to him, "Don't be afraid of the boogeyman behind the door. There is no boogeyman, it is a false belief." The manager told him that whenever he looked at his own fears, he stared them in the face and stood up to them looking them straight in the eye, then they faded and shrank into insignificance. He landed in the jungle. A chaplain told me of his experiences in the Second World War. He had to parachute from a damaged plane and land in the jungle. He said he was frightened, but he knew there were two kinds of fear, normal and abnormal, which we have previously pointed out. He decided to do something about the fear immediately and began to talk to himself, saying, John, you can't surrender to your fear. Your fear is a desire for safety and security and a way out. He began to claim infinite intelligence which guides the planets in their courses is now leading and guiding me out of this jungle. He kept saying this out loud to himself for 10 minutes or more. Then he added, something began to stir inside me. A mood of confidence began to seize me, and I began to walk. After a few days, I miraculously came out of the jungle and was picked up by a rescue plane. His changed mental attitude saved him. His confidence and trust hit the subjective wisdom, and power within him was the solution to his problem. He said, had I begun to bemoan my face, bemoan my fate, and indulge my fears, I would have succumbed. I would have succumbed to the monster fear and probably would have died of fear and starvation. He dismissed himself. The general manager of an organization told me that for 3 years he feared he would lose his position. He was always imagining failure. The thing he feared did not exist, save as a morbid and anxious thought in his own mind. His vivid imagination dramatized the loss of his job until he became nervous and narcotic. Finally, he was asked to resign. Finally, he was asked to resign. Actually, he dismissed himself. His constant negative imagery and fear suggestions to his subconscious mind caused the latter to respond and react accordingly. It caused him to make mistakes and foolish decisions, which resulted in his failure as a general manager. His dismissal would never have happened if he had immediately moved to the opposite in his mind. They plotted against him. During a recent world lecture tour, I had a 2-hour conversation with a prominent government official. He had a deep sense of inner peace and serenity. He said that all the abuse he receives politically from newspapers and the opposition party never disturb him. His practice is to sit still for 15 minutes in the morning and realize that in the center of him is a deep, still ocean of peace. Meditating in Meditating in this way, he generates tremendous power which overcomes all manner of difficulties and fears. Sometime previously, a college a colleague called him at midnight and told him a group of people was plotting against him. This is what he said to his colleagues: I am going to sleep now in perfect peace. You can discuss it with me at 10 a.m. tomorrow. He said to me, I know that no negative thought can ever manifest except I emotionalize the thought and accept it mentally. I refuse to entertain their suggestion of fear. Therefore, no harm can come to me. Notice how calm he was, how cool, how peaceful. He did not start getting excited, tearing his hair, or wringing his hands at his center. He found the still water and inner peace, and there was a great calm. Deliver yourself from all your fears. Use this perfect formula for casting out fear. I sought the Lord and He heard me and delivered me from all my fear. Psalm sentence 34 to 4. The Lord is an ancient word meaning low. The power of your subconscious mind. Learn the wonders of your subconscious and how it works and functions. Master the techniques given to you in this chapter. Put them into practice now. Today your subconscious will respond and you will be free of all fears. I sought the Lord and He heard me and I delivered me from all my fears. Step this way to freedom from fear. Do the thing you are afraid to do, and the death of fear is certain. Say to yourself and mean it, I am going to master this fear, and you will. Fear is a negative thought in your mind. Supplant it with a constructive thought. Fear has killed millions. Confidence is greater than fear. Nothing is more powerful than faith in God and the good. Fear is man's greatest enemy. It is behind failure, sickness, and bad human relation. Love casts out fear. Love is an emotional attachment to the good things of life. Fall in love with honesty, integrity, justice, goodwill, and success. Live in the joyous expectancy of the best, and invariably the best will come to you. Counteract the fear suggestions with the opposite, such as I sing beautifully, I am poised, serene, and calm. I will pay fabulous dividends. Fear is behind amnesia at oral and written examination time. You can overcome this by affirming frequently, I have a perfect memory for everything I need to know. Or you can imagine a friend congratulating you on your brilliant success on the examination. Perseverance and you will win. If you are afraid to cross water, swim. In your imagination, swim freely. Joyously project yourself into the water mentally. Feel the chill and thrill of swimming across the pool. Make it vivid. As you do this subjectively, you will be compelled to go into the water and conquer it. This is the law of your mind. If you are afraid of closed places such as elevator, lecture halls, etc., mentally write in an elevator blessing all its parts and function. You will be amazed how quickly the fear will be dissipated. You are born with only two fears, the fear of falling and the fear of noise. All your other fears were acquired, get rid of them. Normal fear is good, abnormal fear is very bad and destructive. To constantly indulge in fear thoughts results in abnormal fear, obsessions, and complexes. To fear something persistently causes a sense of panic and terror. You can overcome abnormal fear when you know the power of your subconscious mind can change conditions and bring to pass the cherished desires of your heart. Give your immediate attention and devotion to your desire, which is the opposite of your fear. This is the love that casts out fear, that casts out fear. If you are afraid of failure, give attention to success. If you are afraid of sickness, dwell on your perfect health. If you are afraid of an accident, dwell on the guidance and protection of God. If you are afraid of death, dwell on eternal life. God is life, and that is your life now. The great law of subconscious, the great law of substitution is the answer to fear. Whatever you fear has its solution in the form of your desire. If you are sick, you desire health. If you are in the prison of fear, you desire freedom. Expect the good, mentally concentrate on good, and know that your subconscious mind answers you always. It never fails. The things you fear do not really exist except as thoughts in your mind. Thoughts are creative. This is why Job said, "The thing I feared has become upon me. Think good and good follows." Look at your fears. Hold them up to the light of reason. Learn to laugh at your fears. That is the best medicine. Look at your fears. Hold them up to the light of reason. Learn to laugh at your fears. That is the best medicine. Nothing can disturb you but your own thought. The suggestions, statements, or threats of other persons have no power. The power is within you. And when your thoughts are focused on that which is good, then God's power is with your thoughts of good. There is only one creative power, and it moves as harmony. There are no divisions of quarrels in it. Its source is love. This is why God's power is with your thoughts of good. Dear friends, you are really praiseworthy, admirable, and appreciable while listening the words of language to literature, from science to spirituality, how to stay young in spirit forever. How to stay young in spirit forever. Your subconscious mind never grows old. It never grows old. It is timeless, ageless, and endless. It is a part of the universal mind of God, which was never born, and it will never die. Fatigue or old age cannot be predicted on any spiritual quality or power. Patience, kindness, veracity, humility, goodwill, peace, harmony, and brotherly love are attributes and qualities which never grow old. If you continue to generate these qualities here on this plane of life, you will always remain young in spirit. I remember reading an article in one of our magazines some years ago which stated that a group of eminent medical men at the DCORC clinic in Cincinnati, Ohio, reported that years alone are not responsible for bringing about degenerative disorders. These same physicians stated that it is the fear of time, not time itself, that has a harmless aging effect on our minds and bodies, and that the narcotic and that the neurotic fear of the effects of time may well be the cause of premature aging. During the many years of my public life, I have had occasion to study the biographies of the famous men and women who have continued their productive activities into the year well beyond the normal span of life. Some of them achieve their greatness in old age. At the same time, it has been my privilege to meet and to know countless individuals of no prominence who, in their lesser sphere, belonged to those hardy mortals who have proved that old age of itself does not destroy the creative powers of the mind and body. He had he had grown old in his thought life. A few years ago, I called on an old friend in London, England. He was over 80 years of age, very ill, and obviously was yielding to his advancing years. Our conversation revealed his physical weakness, his sense of frustration, and a general deterioration, almost approaching lifelessness. His cry was that he was useless and that no one wanted him. With an expression of hopelessness, he betrayed his false philosophy. We are born, grown up, we are born, grow up, become old, good for nothing, and that's the end. This mental attitude of futility and worthlessness was the chief reason for his sickness. He was looking forward only to senescence, and after that, nothing. Indeed, he had grown old in his thought life, and his subconscious mind brought about all the evidence of his habitual thinking. Age is the dawn of wisdom. Age is the dawn of wisdom. Unfortunately, many people have the same attitude as this unhappy man. They are afraid of what they term old age, the end, and extinction, which really means that they are afraid of life. Yet life is endless. Age is not the flight of years, but the dawn of wisdom. Wisdom is an awareness of the tremendous spiritual powers in your subconscious mind and the knowledge of how to apply these powers to lead a full and happy life. Get it out of your head once and for all that 65, 75 and 85 years of age is synonyms with the end for you or anybody else. It can be the beginning of a glamorous of a glorious, fruitful, active, and most productive life patterns better than you have ever experienced. Believe this, expect it, and your subconscious will bring it to pass. Welcome the change. Old age. Old age is not a tragic occurrence. What we call the aging process is really change. It is to be welcomed joyfully and gladly, as each phase of human life is a step forward on the path which has no end. Man has powers which transcend his bodily powers. He has senses which transcend his five physical senses. Scientists today are finding positive, indisputable evidence that something conscious in man can leave his present body and travel thousands of miles to see, hear, touch, and speak to people, even though his physical body never leaves the couch on which it reclines. Man's life is spiritual and eternal. He need never grow up. He need never grow old for life, or God cannot grow old. The Bible says that God is life. Life is self-renewing, eternal, indestructible, and is the reality of all men. Evidence for survival. The evidence gathered by the psychical research societies, both in Great Britain and America, is overwhelming. You may go into any large metropolitan library and get volume on the proceedings of the Psychical Research Society based on findings of distinguished scientists on survival following so-called death. You will find a startling report on scientific experiments establishing the reality of life after death. In the case for psychic survival by Hereward Carrington, director of the American Psychical Institute. Life is a woman asked Thomas Edison, the electrical wizard, Mr. Edison, what is electricity? Mr. Edison, what is electricity? He replied, Madam, electricity is use it. Electricity is a name. We give an invisible power. Electricity is a name we give an invisible power which we do not fully comprehend, but we learn all we can about the principle of electricity and its uses. We use it in countless ways. The scientist cannot see an electron with his ears, with his eyes, yet he accepts it as a scientific fact because it is the only valid conclusion which coincides with his other experimental evidence. We cannot see life, however we know we are alive. Life is, and we are here to express it in all its beauty and glory. Mind and spirit do not grow old. Mind and spirit do not grow old. The Bible says, and this is life eternal, that they might know thee, the only true God. John 17:3 chapter. In number 17:3, this the man who thinks or believes that the earthly cycle of birth, adolescence, youth, maturity and old age is all there is to life, is indeed to be pitied. Such a man has no anchor, no hope, no vision, and to him life has no meaning. This type of belief brings frustration, stagnation, cynicism, and a sense of hopelessness resulting in neurosis and mental aberrations of all kinds. If you cannot play a fast game of tennis or swim as fast as your son, or if your body has slowly down or you walk with a slow step, remember life is always clothing itself anew. What men call death is but a journey to a new city in another dimension of life. I say to men and women in my lectures that they should accept what we call old age gracefully. Age has its own glory, beauty, and wisdom, which belong to it. Peace, love, joy, beauty, happiness, wisdom, goodwill, and understanding are qualities which never grow old or die. Ralph Waldo Emerson, poet and philosopher, said, "We do not count a man's years until he has nothing else to count." Your character, the quality of your mind, your faith, and your convictions are not subject to decay. You are as young as you think you are. I give public lectures in Caxton Hall, London, England, every few years, and following one of these lectures, a surgeon said to me, "I am 84 years of age. I am 84 years of age. I operate every morning, visit patients in the afternoon, and I write for medical and other scientific journals in the evening." His attitude was that he was as useful as he believed himself to be, and that he was as young as his thoughts. He said to me, "It's true what you said. Man is as strong as he thinks he is, and as valuable as he thinks he is." This surgeon has not surrendered to advancing years. He knows that he is immortal. His final comment on me was, if I should pass on tomorrow, I would be operating on people in the next dimension, not with a surgeon scalped, but with mental and spiritual surgery. Your gray hairs are an asset. Don't ever quit a job and say, "I am retired, I am old, I am finished." That would be stagnation, death, and you would be finished. Some men are old at 30, while others are young at 80. The mind is the master weaver, the architect, the designer, and the sculptor. George Bernard Shaw was active at 90, and the artistic quality of his mind had not relaxed from active duty. I meet men and women who tell me that some employers almost slam the door in their faces when they say they are over 40. This attitude on the part of the employees is to be considered cold, callous, evil, and completely void of compassion, void of compassion and understanding. The total emphasis seems to be on youth. That is, you must be under 35 years of age to receive consideration. The reasoning behind this is certainly very slow. If the employer would stop and think, he would realize that the man or woman was not selling his age or gray hair. Rather, he was willing to give of his talents, his experience, and his wisdom gathered through years of experience in the marketplace of life. Age is an asset. Your age should be a distinct asset to any organization because of your practice and application through the years of the principles of the golden rule and the law of love and goodwill. Your grey hair, if you have any, should stand for greater wisdom, skill and understanding. Your emotional and spiritual maturity should be a tremendous blessing to any organization. A man should not be asked to resign when he is 65 years of age. This is the time of life when he could be most useful in handling personal problems, making plans for the future, making decisions and guiding others in the realm of creative ideas based on his experience and insight into the nature of the business. Be your ace. A motion picture written in Hollywood told me that he had to visit scripts which would cater to the 12-year-old mind. This is a tragic state of affairs if the great masses of people are expected to become emotionally and spiritually minor, become spiritual and emotionally mature. It means that the emphasis is placed on youth in spite of the fact that youth stands for inexperience, lack of discernment and hasty judgment. I can keep up with the best to them. I am now thinking of a man 65 years of age who is trying frantically to keep young. He swims with young men every Sunday, goes on long hikes, plays tennis and boasts of his prowess and physical powers, saying, "Look, I can keep up with the best of them." He should remember the great truth. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 3:23-7. Diets, exercises and games of all kinds will not keep this man young. It is necessary for him to observe that he grows old or remains young in accordance with his processes of thinking. Your subconscious mind is conditioned by your thoughts. If your thoughts are constantly on the beautiful, the noble and the good, you will remain young regardless of the chronological years. Fear of old age. Job said, "The thing which I greatly feared, it came upon me." These are many people who fear old age and are uncertain about the future because they anticipate mental and physical deterioration as the years advance. What they think and feel comes to pass. You grow old when you lose interest in life, when you cease to dream, to hunger after new truths, and to search for new words to conquer. When your mind is open to new ideas, new interest, and when you raise the curtain and let in the sunshine and inspiration of new truths of life and the universe, you will be young and vital. You have much to give. If you are 65 or 95 years of age, realize you have much to give. You can help, stabilize, advise, and direct the younger generation. You can give the benefit of your knowledge, your experience, and your wisdom. You can always look ahead for at all times you are gazing into infinite life. You will find that you can never cease to unveil the glories and wonders of life. Try to learn something new every moment of the day. and you will find your mind will always be young. 110 years old. 110 years old. Some years ago, while lecturing in Bombay, India, I was introduced to a man who said he was 110 years old. He had the most beautiful face I have ever seen. He seemed transfigured by the radiance of an inner light. There was a rare beauty in his eyes, indicating he had grown old in years, with gladness and with no indication that his mind had dimmed its lights. Retirement, a new venture. Be sure that your mind never retires. It might be like a parachute. Which is no good unless it opens up. Be open and receptive to new ideas. I have seen men of 65 and 70 retire. They seemed to rot away, and in a few months passed on, they obviously felt that life was at an end. Retirement can be a new venture, a new challenge, a new path, the beginning of the fulfillment of a long dream. It is inexpressible, depressing to hear a man say, "What shall I do now that I am retired?" He is saying, in effect, I am mentally and physically dead. My mind is a bankrupt of ideas. All this is a false picture. The real truth is that you can accomplish more at 90 than you did at 60, because each day you are growing in wisdom and understanding of life and the universe through your new studies and interests. He graduated to a better job. An executive who lives near me was forced to retire a few months ago because he had reached the age of 65. He said to me, "I look upon my retirement as promotion from kindergarten to the first grade." He philosophized in this manner. He said that when he left high school, he went up the ladder by going to college. He realized this was a step forward in his education and understanding of life in general. Likewise, he added, now he could do the thing he had already wanted to do, and therefore his retirement was still another step forward on the ladder of his life and wisdom. He came to the wise conclusion that he was no longer going to concentrate on making a living. Now he was going to give all his attention to living people. He is an amateur photographer, and he took additional courses on the subject. He took a trip around the world and took movies of famous places. He now lectures before various groups, lodges and clubs, and is in popular demand. There are countless ways of taking an interest in something worthwhile outside yourself. Become enthusiastic over new creative ideas. Make spiritual progress and continue to learn to grow. In the manner you remain young in heart. Because you are hungering and thirsting after new truths, and your body will reflect your thinking at all times. You must be a producer and not a prisoner of society. The newspaper are taking cognizance of the fact that the voting population of the elderly in California, elections increasing by leaps and bounds. This means that their voices will be heard in the legislature of the state and also in the halls of Congress. I believe there will be enacted a federal law prohibiting employees from discrimination against men and women because of age. A man of 65 years may be younger mentally, physically, and physiologically than many men of 30. It is stupid and ridiculous to tell a man he cannot be hired because he is over 40. It is like saying to him that he is ready for the scrap heap on the junk pile. What is a man of 40 or over to do? Must be bury his talents and hide his light under a bustle. Men who are deprived and prevented from working because of age must be sustained by government treasuries at country, state and federal levels. The many organizations who refuse to hire them and benefit from their wisdom and experience will be taxed to support them. This is a form of financial suicide. Man is here to enjoy the fruit of his labor, and he is here to be a producer and not a prisoner of society, which compels him to idleness. Man's body slows down gradually as he advances through the year, but his conscious mind can be made much more active, alert, alive, and quickened by the inspiration from his subconscious mind. His mind, in reality, never grows old, Job said. Oh, that I were as in months past, as in the days when God preserved me, when his candle shined upon my head, and when by his light I walked through darkness, as I was in the days of my youth, when the secret of God was upon my tabernacle. Job 29 chapter 2 to 4. secret of youth, to recapture the days of your youth, feel to recapture the days of your youth, feel the miraculous healing, self-renewing power of your subconscious mind moving through your whole being. Know and feel that you are inspired, lifted up, rejuvenated, revitalized, and recharged spiritually. You can bubble over with enthusiasm and joy as in the days of your youth, for the simple reason that you can always mentally and emotionally recapture the joyous state. The candle which shines open, the candle which shines upon your head is divine intelligence and reveals to you everything you need to know. It enables you to affirm the presence of your good regardless of appearances. You walk by the guidance of your subconscious mind because you know that the dawn appears and the shadows flee away. Get a vision. Instead of saying I am old, say I am wise in the way of the divine life. Don't let the corporation, newspaper, or statistics hold a picture before you of old age, declining years, decrepitude, senility, and uselessness. Reject it for it is lie. Refuse to be hypnotized by such propaganda. Affirm life, note death, get a vision of yourself a happy, radiant, successful, serene, and powerful. Your mind does not grow old. Former President Herbert Hoover, now 88 years old, is very active and is performing monumental work. I interviewed him a few years ago in his suite at the Waldorf Astoria, New York City. I found him healthy, happy, vigorous, and full of life and enthusiasm. He was keeping several secretaries busy handling his correspondence and was himself writing books of a political and historical nature. Like all great men, I found him affable, genial, genial, amiable, loving, and most understanding. His mental acumen and sagacity gave me the thrill of a lifetime. He is a deeply religious man and is full of faith in God and in the triumph of the external truth of life. He was subjected to a barrage of criticism and condemnation in the years of the Great Depression, but he but he weathered the storm and did not grow old in hatred, resentment, ill will, and bitterness. On the contrary, he went into the silence of his soul and communing with the divine presence within him, he found the peace which is the power at the heart of God. His mind active at 99. My father learned the French language at 65 years of age and became an authority on it at 17. He made a study of Gaelic when he was over 60 and became an acknowledged and famous teacher of the subject. He assisted my sister in a school of higher learning and continued to do so until he passed away at 99. His mind was as as clear as 99, as it was when he was 20. Moreover, his handwriting and his reasoning powers had improved with age. Truly, we are as old as you think and feel. We need our senior citizens. Marcus Porcius Cato, the Roman parrot, learned Greek at 80. Madame Ernestine Schumann-Henoch, the great German-American contralto, reached the pinnacle of her musical success after she became a grandmother. It is wonderful to behold the accomplishments of the Aldrich, General Douglas MacArthur, Harry S. Truman, General Dwight David, Alan Hoover, and American financial Bernard Barish are interesting, active, and contributing their talents and wisdom to the world. The Greek philosopher Socrates learned to play musical instruments when he was 80 years old. Michelangelo was painting his greatest canvases at AZ at 80. At 80, Ceos Simonides won the prize for poetry. Johann van Goethe finished fast, and Leopold von Ranke commenced his History of the World, which he finished at 92. Alfred Tennyson wrote a magnificent poem, Crossing the Bar, at 83. Isaac Newton was hard at work close to 85. At 88, John Wesley was directing, preaching, and guiding Methodism. We have several men of 95 years who come to my lectures and they tell me that are in better health now than they were at 20. Let us place our senior citizens in high places and give them every opportunity to bring forth the flowers of paradise. If you are retired, get interested in the laws of life and the wonders of your subconscious mind. Do something you have already wanted to do. Study new subjects and investigate new ideas. Pray as follows: as the heart pendeth after the water brook, so pendeth my soul after thee, O God. In Psalm 41:1. The fruits of old age. His flesh shall be fresher than a child's. He shall return to the days of his youth. Job 33:25. Old age really means the contemplation of the truth of God from the highest standpoint. Realize that you are on an endless journey, a series of important steps in the ceaseless, tireless, endless ocean of life. Then, with the psalmist, you will say, they shall still bring forth fruit in old age. They shall be fat and flourishing. Psalm chapter 92-14. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. Galatians 5 22-3, 22-23. You are a son of infinite life, which knows no end, and you are a child of eternity. You are a child of eternity. Profitable pointers. Pointers: kindness, love, goodwill, joy, happiness, wisdom, and understanding are qualities which never grow old. Cultivate them and express them and remain young in mind and body. Some research physicians say that the neurotic fear of the affects neurotic. Fear of the effects of time may well be the cause of premature aging. Age is not the flight of years, it is the dawn of wisdom in the mind of man. The most productive years of your life can be from 65 to 95. Welcome the old advancing years. It means you are moving higher on the path of life which has no end. God is life and there is your life now. Life is self-renewing, eternal and indestructible, and is the reality of all men. You live forever because your life is the God's life. Evidence of survival after death is overwhelming. Study proceedings of Psychical Research Society of Great Britain and America in your library. Outstanding scientists base the work on the scientific research for over 75 years. You cannot see your mind, but you know you have a mind. You cannot see spirit, but you know that the spirit of the game, the spirit of the artist, the spirit of the magician, and the spirit of the speaker is real. Likewise, the spirit of goodness, truth, and beauty moving in your mind and heart are real. You cannot see life, but you know you are alive. Old age may be called the contemplation of the truth of God from the highest standpoint. The joys of old age are greater than those of youth. Your mind is engaged in spiritual and mental athletics. Nature slows down your body so that you may have the opportunity to meditate on things divine. We do not count a man's years until he has nothing else to count. Your faith and conviction are not subtle to decay, are not subject to decay. You are as young as you think you are. You are as strong as you think you are. You are as useful as you think you are. You are as young as your thoughts. Your grey hair is an asset. You are not selling your grey hairs. You are selling your talent, abilities and wisdom which you have granted through the years. Diets and exercises won't keep you young. As a man thinketh, so is he. Fear of old age can bring about physical and mental deterioration. The thing I greatly feared has come upon me. You grow old when you cease to dream, and when you lose interest in life. You grow old if you are irritable, crotchety, petulant, and cantankerous. Fill your mind with the truth of God and radiate the sunshine of His love. This is youth. Look ahead, for at all times you are gazing into infinite life. Your retirement is a new venture. Take up new studies and new interest. You can now do the things you always wanted to do when you were too busy making a living. Give your attention to living life. Become a producer and not a prisoner of society. Don't hide your light under a bushel. The secret of youth is love, joy, inner peace, and laughter. In Him there is fullness of joy. In Him there is no darkness at all. You are needed. Some of the great philosophers, artists, scientists, writers, and others accomplished their greatest work after they were 80 years old. The fruits of old age are love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, and temptations. You are a son of infinite life which knows no end. You are a child of eternity. You are wonderful. Dear friends, you know that. भाइयों बहनों, भारत की भूमि जो एक अध्यात्म का एक महान केंद्र कही जाती है, पूरे विश्व में जिसके आध्यात्मिक मूल्य, सामाजिक मूल्य के आधार पे ये अपने आप में सबसे बड़ी पहचान रखता है, और इसी पहचान का करता है ये अभिमान, जिससे होती है तिरंगे की ऊंची शान। भाइयों बहनों, आप सब जानते हैं कि हमारा भारत देश विविधताओं, अनेकताओं और विभिन्नताओं से भरा हुआ देश, जिसमें हर आधार पे, हर प्रकार के जाति, धर्म, भाषा के आधार पे विभिन्नताएं पाई जाती हैं, लेकिन संवैधानिक तौर पे हम एक माने जाते हैं, एक जाने जाते हैं, क्योंकि हमारे आध्यात्मिक मूल्य सर्वोपरि माने जाते हैं। हमारे अधिकारों को प्राप्त करने के लिए हमें अपने कर्तव्यों का भी पालन करना है। और एक नए महीने की शुरुआत आज हम करने जा रहे हैं। वह है सितंबर का महीना। अगस्त के महीने के प्रत्येक दिन को हमने आत्मिक आजादी के रूप में मनाया, और यह सितंबर का महीना भी सभी भाई बहनों के लिए बहुत ही महत्व रखता है, क्योंकि इस महीने में हम हर प्रकार के उत्सवों के रूप में हर दिन को मनाते हैं। तो उसी उन्माद, उत्साह और उत्सव रूपी जोश के साथ में हर महीने को मनाया जाए, हर दिन को मनाया जाए, ताकि हम हमारी ऊर्जा को, हमारी तेजस्विता को गंवाएं नहीं, बल्कि हमारे राष्ट्र के उत्पादन रचनात्मक कार्यों के अंदर लगाएं, जिससे कि हमारा राष्ट्र चहुमुखी विकास का हकदार बन सके। सामाजिक तरीके से राष्ट्रीयता के आधार पे हम दिन प्रतिदिन उन्नति के मार्ग पे बढ़ रहे हैं। आज हमारे वर्तमान माननीय सम्माननीय प्रधानमंत्री महोदय जी के द्वारा यह संदेश पूरी दुनिया को जाता है कि हमारी जो चरम और परम लक्ष्य रखने वाली ऐसी कटिबद्धताओं, सूचीबद्धताओं के साथ में, वचनबद्धताओं के साथ अपना नाम रोशन करने वाली मातृभूमि भारत की एक ऐसी मातृभूमि है जो पूरे विश्व के अंदर अपने सामाजिक, सांस्कृतिक, धार्मिक, आर्थिक, राजनीतिक अति उत्तम मूल्यों के साथ जानी जाती है। तो हमें इन मूल्यों को बरकरार रखना है और अपनी ऊर्जा को सही दिशा में लगाना है। और इस ऊर्जा को सही दिशा प्रदान करने के लिए हमारे भारत के समाज सुधारक, ऋषि मुनि समय समय पे इस धरती पे आए, जिन्होंने इस धरती के ऊपर चरण टिकाए और हमें सच से रूबरू करवाया, जिनके नाम आज हम पढ़ते हैं। अनेकों धर्मों की उपासना करने वाले, अनेक धर्म ग्रंथों की रचना करने वाले हमारे महापुरुष, जिनका संदेश प्रकृति के साथ साहचर्य के संबंधों को स्थापित करना है। स्वामी विवेकानंदा, जो कि पूरे विश्व के अंदर भ्रमण किया और उन्होंने बताया कि पूरे विश्व में वासुदेव कुटुंबकम के प्रकाश को फैलाया और कहा, मेरे प्रिय भाइयों और बहनों, ये ऐसी सोच के धनी, जिस सोच ने पूरी दुनिया को कायल कर दिया, पूरी दुनिया के ऊपर जादू छा गया, उस महान समाज सुधारक का। क्यों? क्योंकि उसके अंदर ऐसी महान पवित्रता उसके शब्दों में ही नहीं, बल्कि उसकी सोच और उसके कार्य व्यवहार में भी झलकती थी। तो ऐसे महापुरुषों की यह धरती, ऐसे महान स्वतंत्रता सेनानियों, कुर्बानी देने वाले त्यागियों, योगियों, महापुरुषों की यह धरती, जिसका अभिमान हमारे प्रत्येक नागरिक के अंदर होना चाहिए। और हमें अपने तिरंगे की आन मान शान के लिए अपने तन मन धन से इसकी सेवा कार्यों के लिए जुटना चाहिए। भाइयों बहनों, आप सभी एक अति महत्वपूर्ण समय सुनने में लगा रहे हैं, देखने में लगा रहे हैं। ये बहुत बड़ी बात है कि हमें ईश्वर ने ऐसा समय दिया है कि हम उसकी महिमा का गुणगान कर रहे हैं। उसी के शब्दों के द्वारा उसकी महिमा का गुणगान जितना किया जाए कम है। ये सब एक सूरज को दीपक दिखाने के मानित है। तो भाइयों बहनों, यदि हम हमारे भारतवर्ष का प्रत्येक दिन एक नए उत्सव और जोश के रूप में मनाते हैं, तो हम भारत के एक स्वच्छ नागरिक बन जाते हैं और इससे हमारी भारतीयता और हमारे युवाओं का जोश, होश का जज्बा जुनून पूरी दुनिया के अंदर पता चलता है कि हमारे कैसे हैं हमारे भारतीय युवा और कैसा महान परिवर्तन लाने की क्षमता इनके अंदर है। तो भारतीय युवाओं भाइयों बहनों, जो भी आप सभी सुन रहे हैं, हमारे योग्य शासक प्रशासक जो हमें चला रहे हैं, उनकी मान मर्यादाओं के अनुसार हमें हमारी मातृभूमि की रक्षा करनी है और इसकी राष्ट्रीयता के लिए, इसकी आन शान के लिए हमें अपने आप को पूरी तरह से खपा देना है। क्यों? क्योंकि हम हमारे वास्तविक जीवन के अंदर एक आध्यात्मिक जीवन जीने के लिए इस दुनिया में आए हैं, न कि स्वार्थी बनने के लिए। यदि हम स्वार्थी बन जाएंगे और हमारा जीवन यदि उनकी तरह जीने लगेंगे, जो कि पशु पक्षी हैं, जीव जंतु हैं, वो तो फिर सभी करते हैं, वो आज मनुष्य से आगे हैं, क्योंकि वे भी मरने के बाद में परमार्थ करते हैं, पुरुषार्थ करते हैं। लेकिन हमारा तो जीते जी इतना बुरा हाल हो जाता है कि हम पुरुषार्थ और परमार्थ को छोड़ देते हैं और औपचारिकता की भूमिका में लग जाते हैं। हमें अनौपचारिक तरीके से इस मातृभूमि की सेवा के लिए जुट जाना है। धन्यवाद, धन्यवाद भाइयों बहनों।